No.
No.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, everybody, and today we're having the tea party.
Whoa, tea party, crazy. Whoa. I have some tea right here with me.
I don't this time.
I spilled my tea.
What kind of tea is it? What kind of tea?
Earl Grey.
Ooh.
Earl Grey
Good
tea.
morning tea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Delicious.
well, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay,
Tea party.
count us down to click on that for tea party thing.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, door's opening.
Door is open. The second day, October 5th, 1986.
Whoa. It's raining.
Oh,
It's 12 o'clock.
The clock. Oh.
Whoa. Whoa, time's speeding up. Oh, no.
I think this is Battler.
Probably, yeah. I don't have a clue what's going on. Please, someone explain in a way even I can understand. What happened yesterday? I was in the kitchen of the mansion, grabbing some food without permission. If you open up that massive business class refrigerator, you can find anything. You can eat and drink as much as you like. Even if the typhoon didn't clear up for a week, I'd have more than enough to eat. With wine in one hand, I was helping myself to some dry-cured ham. I wondered just how expensive this wine and ham are. You ingredients are out of luck too. If only you had Goda to cook you. You could have been reborn as much more incredible food.
He's going crazy. He's talking to the food and shit.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. I look at the clock. Very soon it would be 12 o'clock. October, the second day, would end. The insane October 4th yesterday seemed like a lie. That's how much nothing had happened after that test thing. Nothing happened. No phone call came and no letters came. No person came and no one attacked me. Nothing happened at all. I want to start demanding a refund on all the time and energy that tension stole from me. Because after that, for an entire day, a full 24 hours, nothing happened. So surely, nothing's gonna happen now. A full 24 hours ago, Beatrice called me to the spot in front of the mansion's entrance. There I was given a strange test to determine the successor to the headship or whatever. I gave a serious answer in my own way, but somehow it hadn't meshed with the other side. Beatrice got pissed for no reason and fell silent. I yelled at her to try and say something, but she gave no answer. When I asked where Maria was, she just told me to go to the chapel and left. To tell the truth, it was an anticlimax. No matter what kind of weird test you give, at least tell me whether I've passed or failed. Are you trying to say thanks for coming? Your results will be mailed to you later or something? Quit messing with me.
It sounds like you failed.
No! Oh well. You know, failure's part of life. Anyway, I then headed to the chapel. After failing the test, both George and Jessica were killed. I couldn't let Maria get killed too. Also, I might get a chance to catch some person trying to kill her. As a little kid, I often heard from Jessica that you'd get in trouble if you went near the chapel. So I'd never been there, but I at least knew where it was. I couldn't find any trace of a person there, but there was a key bundle lying in front of the door. Though this might be someone telling me to open the door, but after trying all the keys, I found that none of them fit. I also called Maria's name, but there was no answer whatsoever. I searched around the chapel, but there was a limit to what I could do in the pitch black with just a flashlight. I realized that this key bundle might be a set of master keys, which could make it possible to open the door for the mansion. I found no sign of Maria, so I returned to the mansion. The mansion was wrapped in silence, and in a horrible stench. However, it's amazing how good humans are at adapting. The inside of the mansion must still be wrapped up in that smell. However, I grew completely used to it and stopped minding it. It didn't seem any worse than any old house where someone had burnt into some meat. At first, I was bewildered by the stench, but I decided to head to the dining hall for the time being. And found those corpses that were so pitiful. Goda and the rest had hesitated to speak of them in detail.
We have a new tip. New tips. Oh, George was the only one we had before. Now we've got all of them. Okay.
Okay.
I'll read Natsui right now.
Okay.
Shiromiya Natsui. Her corpse was found in the dining hall. About half her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. However, the witnesses don't believe she was killed with a gun. Okay, you can read Ava.
Alright. Her corpse was found in the dining hall. About half of her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. However, the witnesses don't believe she was killed with a gun.
I think they're all the same.
Yeah.
They're all the same. Okay, let's keep reading.
It was the remains of Aunt Natsuri and the others who had become the first victims. Half of each head had been completely split open, and it was so gruesome that even without knowing a thing about examining corpses, I could say they were 100% dead. And on top of that, the remaining halves of their faces were left like normal, so it was even easy to identify them. Really convenient corpses these were. And in addition to those 6 bodies was one more. The 7th corpse was Maria. She lay next.
What's the new tip? New tip, Maria.
New tip.
You get to read it. I think the last part's the only part that's different.
All right, I'll read the last part.
Oh no! The whole thing's different.
Her corpse was found in the dining. Oh shit! Sorry. Her corpse was found in the dining hall. Battler wasn't able to make out any wounds in particular, so he assumed that she was killed by some kind of poison. The most peaceful form of invitation to the Golden Land.
How'd she get to the dining hall?
Where was she originally?
She was supposed to go to the chapel.
Right. Underground passageway.
The underground passageway doesn't go between the chapel and the mansion.
Shh. She doesn't need to know that.
Okay.
Alright. She lay next to Aunt Rosa as though sleeping alongside her. I cried at the death of an innocent young girl, and at the cruel way my dad and the rest had died. I raced through the mansion, swinging the hat stand spear, yelling, "Come out here, bastard!" But I couldn't find any trace of anyone else. Thinking they might be planning to hide somewhere and attack me from behind, I went around searching for hidden places, sometimes growing more cautious, and sometimes intentionally letting my guard down in various ways, but in the end not even a kitten appeared. Then morning came. My tension and fatigue combined with my drowsiness, making for the worst kind of dawn. Humans are pretty incredible. Even when a murderer might be hiding somewhere, we prioritize drowsiness and fatigue over our own lives. By that time, I was starting to feel pretty ridiculous. After all, for a full 6 hours before dawn, I'd walk through the mansion yelling at the culprits to show themselves. My search had been a carefree one, and I tired myself out and let my guard down. Even so, no one came to attack me. Basically, I lost patience with them and figured they could do whatever the hell they wanted. The boat won't come until the typhoon passes. They said on TV that it won't pass until tomorrow, so I've got another full day today. Lazing about lost its interest, and even though I knew it would probably make the police mad, I decided to play detective a bit. First was the dining hall, where the very first murder had occurred. The 6 who had been killed in the beginning were really were pitiful. The weapon we used was probably a gun. Maybe their heads were split by something powerful, like a magnum bullet or a shotgun. It was a reasonable theory to hold. Compared to that, the 7th corpse, Maria, had died in a much better and cleaner way. At a glance, I could see no external wounds and didn't understand how she'd been killed. But by her mouth were traces of bubbles that she might have spat out, and it looked like a typical death by poisoning that you might see in a TV drama. Wasn't Maria called out to the chapel and given a test? So why was she in the corpse-filled dining hall lying next to her mother, dead? Even if the cause of death was poison, who gave it to her? Her clothes weren't disturbed at all. It's hard to imagine that she was forcibly pushed down and given an injection of poison. It's probably better to assume that she was given a capsule of poison or something and made to swallow it. But compared to the scattered and violently mutilated corpses in this room, Maria's corpse was too clean. If they had a gun, they only needed to pull the trigger, but poisoning, whether by having her drink it or by injection, would take a lot more effort. Considering the culprit's brutal nature, you'd think Maria's death alone was given special treatment. Why was only Maria given a sleep-like death? True, being killed is always a pitiful thing. But for some reason, Maria's death alone seemed very courteous to me. Both of Maria's hands were joined on her chest, as though the dead person had put them there herself. Did Maria do that herself before dying? Isn't this usually something done by someone else after the person dies? As though sleeping with her mother, whose head was half crushed, Maria dozed in peace. For some reason, the contrast really bugged me. Including the direct cause, it's probably safe to say that Maria's death is shrouded in mystery. And more than anything else, the biggest mystery of this dining hall was the pitfalls. The pitfalls that both Uncle Krause's group and Goda's had mentioned. After the first 6 were killed, 5 more fell through pitfalls and were captured. What are pitfalls? Those things that suddenly open and you fall through them, right? The room had a solid floor with a carpet that looked dignified, if a bit worn out. No matter how you looked at it. It was a single piece. If a pitfall had opened up, there would have to be a seam just in that place. And if there had been some trick like a pitfall, wouldn't it creak when you walked on it? No matter how much I walked around feeling the carpet, I just couldn't imagine that a pitfall was hidden there. Anyway, it'd be one thing if a single person fell, but a full 5 people did. By putting together everyone's stories, each one of them had fallen from a different location. So at the very least, there had to be 5 separate places with the pitfalls. So what does this mean? Was this room actually made with pitfalls across the entire floor? So by pushing a button, you could open up a pitfall in the location of your choice? Some kind of contraption like that? That kind of ridiculous mechanism would be surprising, even in a ninja mansion. But if Dad and the rest had heard about this, I wonder if they'd say I wouldn't put it past Grandfather to do it, to make it. At any rate, I didn't learn anything more from the dining hall. Do the pitfalls not exist? Or do they exist, but I just can't find them? Amateur that I am. I can't say for sure. Since they claim that the pitfalls were there, I can't ignore them, even if I can't find them. The next ones were to be killed were Jessica and George. I discovered George when I had been called out for my test. He had been called out to the arbor in the rose garden and probably shot in the forehead with a gun. Poor Georg. Jessica had been called to her own room on the second floor of the mansion. The door to her room was locked, but that wasn't a problem at all since I had a master key. Inside the room, it was horrible, but after the dining hall, I was used to corpses, so I built up a bit of an immunity. The phone receiver was loose and dangling. Had she been killed while still on the phone with me? Jessica was leaning against the wall right next to it, with half of her head split open. As far as I could tell by glancing at the scene, it looked as though she'd been killed while on the phone. In that case, had the culprit been right there before her eyes? I hadn't gotten that impression when listening to Jessica's voice over the phone.
Okay, let's read that tip.
Let's read that tip.
It still can't read it. Okay.
Oh. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Jessica said, "They got me." It's probably best to assume that she'd already received a fatal wound at the time of the phone call. That's right, and she also said this. "When you come, Battler, I'll be a corpse with half of its head split open." Yes, that's what she said. From what I could tell by looking at Jessica's corpse, there were no wounds on her other than damage to her head. Could she have had an injury serious enough to make her prepared for death and then died halfway through the phone call? But the way she talked on the phone made me think that she'd escaped harm from the time being. You shouldn't be able to have a casual conversation over a phone if the culprit's right before your eyes. So, did the culprit come in partway through the phone call and kill Jessica? No, that can't be right. After all, this room is locked. Wait, that doesn't tell me anything. If the culprit stole a master key from one of the victims, locking the door would be meaningless. But she had no external wounds other than her head. In that case, should I assume that the fatal wound she was prepared to die from and the actual external wound that damaged her head were two different things? And that both of them were made to be the same part of the body? In other words, Jessica was struck severely to the head and received an incredibly bad wound. Then she called me and either lost consciousness or died while on the phone. And then the culprit came and damaged her head again. Something like that.
We should be able to read it now. Once it... Okay, can we read it? Yeah!
Yay!
Okay, Jessica. Read Jessica.
Jessica. Her corpse was found in her room on the second floor of the mansion. About half her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. She was smashed by her own attack due to George's counter-offensive specialized barrier. That's right, because they fought each other.
By accident.
By accident, yes. Ugh. After being called to this room, Jessica was attacked by the culprit and received a serious injury. Then the culprit thought she'd been killed and went away for the time being. But Jessica miraculously started breathing again and called me with what would become her dying message. Then the culprit realized that they'd failed to kill her and rushed back to deliver the final blow after Jessica fell unconscious from massive blood loss. That seems to add up, more or less, except for how Jessica was able to accurately predict the nature of that final blow. And there was one more thing that bugged me about the phone call from Jessica. Jessica had said this. "George Dunford too. That was an instant death." She said it almost as though she'd witnessed George being killed. But while you certainly could see the rose garden from the window at Jessica's room, and you could even see the roof of the arbor where George had been summoned, it was very far away. Add on the fact that it was the night of the typhoon, and it's very hard to imagine that she was able to witness everything that happened by the arbor from this window. And more than anything else, Jessica left before George Anki. So she shouldn't have known that George's test took place by the arbor. Why did Jessica know that George had been killed? Why? Crazy.
Oh, we have another tip.
Oh, another tip.
Kyrie. Ushiromiya Kyrie. Her corpse was found in a guest room deep within the mansion. There was a single hole right in the center of her forehead. It's probably reasonable to assume she was shot with a gun or something similar. A demon stake was buried in the hole in her forehead, but it's hard to imagine that this was the cause of death. I didn't miss. I missed on purpose to tease her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's the robot girls. Robot bunnies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chester sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. Also, during my search of the entire mansion, I found Kyrie's corpse as well. It was in one of the old guest rooms, at the back of the first floor. In the past, before the construction of the guest house, the relatives had spent the night in these. Kyrie's situation matched Jessica's perfectly. She'd probably been killed during her phone call with me. The receiver was hanging untidily, and Kyrie lay crumpled in that corner. But the way she had been killed was very different from Jessica. Her head wasn't smashed. Instead, a stake with an occult design was buried into her forehead. It was so gruesome, so I pulled it out. Ew. After pulling it, I realized that this might get me into trouble with the police later. So, a little too late, I set it down by Kyrie's side. Its tip was sharp and stained with enough blood that it must have penetrated fully to the brain. I didn't know what kind of metal it was made of, but it was about as heavy as a paperweight. Certainly, if you were stabbed all out with something like this, it might cause a terrible wound. I probably knew what that stake meant. It's one of those, the style of killing from the fourth Twilight onwards in the Witch's Epitaph. It's probably that gouge with the stake and kill thing. However, a human skull is very firm. No matter how much someone mustered their strength, could it really have been pierced so neatly? No. By my reasoning, this stake wasn't the cause of death, but had just been used to damage the corpse after their death. She was probably killed with a gun or something like George, and the stake had been stuck into the hole left by the gun. Thinking of it that way makes it easier to accept. But was Kyrie really killed with a gun? As she said on the phone, even though she was holed up inside a locked room, Kyrie was being attacked. In fact, this room had been locked. Also, she mentioned a golden thread or something flying in and attacking her. In fact, there were 4 places around Kyrie's corpse with holes that could have been caused by some kind of attack. But a golden thread attacked her through a keyhole? I looked at the door from Kyrie's perspective. If it had been one of those old keyholes you used to see in mystery movies, where you can peek through to the other side, then it would have clearly been possible to stick something through it. But even though the doors in the mansion were old-fashioned, the locks were the familiar average cylinder style that you could find in any normal house. In other words, they weren't constructed in a way that would let you penetrate through them. So, no matter how thin an object you might try to stick through the keyhole, it's unthinkable that something penetrated through it from the outside and attacked. A cylinder lock and a keyhole? But despite that, Kyrie definitely said something like a golden thread had flown in through the keyhole, spun around while aiming for her, and attacked her. A golden thread attacked her through a keyhole. I couldn't understand what it meant at all. But even so, Kyrie had probably predicted that I wouldn't be able to understand all of this. And it wasn't just Kyrie. Jessica said it over the phone too. No. Since the very beginning, from the time we talked with Goda and Kumasawa and got the phone call from Uncle Krause's group, everyone has said the same consistent thing. Grandfather summoned witches and demons and is killing people with magic. They'd been shown that right before their eyes. These weren't tricks or fakes. There was no choice but to believe it. With one voice, they had all said that. When the mystery woman calling herself Beatrice appeared, even I had pretty much believed that she was a real witch and might start summoning goat monsters right and left. However, after being left alone for a whole day, my feeling of tension had faded completely. I was now able to think that something so stupid definitely couldn't be true. Did they lose their heads a little in an extraordinary situation where their lives were exposed to danger, and mistakenly think that a witch was attacking them with magic? But multiple people gave the same kind of testimony, and on top of that, none of their opinions conflicted each other. If it had just been a single statement, I'd be able to suspect that they just didn't see what they thought they saw. But doing that now is pretty difficult.
There's a new tip.
New tip?
It's Uncle Krause.
Uncle Krause! No one can escape from the Chester's golden arrows.
Oh, you're not gonna read.
Oh, all of it?
Yeah.
Alright, his corpse was found in a guest room deep within the mansion. About half of his head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that he was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. A demon stake was buried into the damaged area. No one can escape from the Chester sisters' golden arrows.
Ooh.
No one. Really?
Why
no
did
one?
it say he was found in a guest room when he's right next to the back door?
What? Right next to the back door, I found Uncle Krause, and it says guest room. Yeah. Maybe there's a touch of the unreliable narrator going on here. But anyway. Then, right next to the back door, I found Uncle Krause with his head half smashed, even though he'd escaped from the dungeon of Kudawarian, and somehow made it this far by a secret underground passage. He had been killed. Buried into the guest house, gruesome cross-section of his crushed head, half-crushed head, was a stake with an occult design, like the one that had been buried into Kyrie's forehead. And in this situation, it was very hard to imagine that this stake was the weapon used. He had been killed with a powerful gun like the six in the dining hall, and after death he had been jabbed with a stake like Kyrie. I wonder if the golden threads that Kyrie spoke of attacked Uncle Krause too. Does there exist some kind of tool, like an endoscope that's very thin but can be moved about at will, and that can also attack people? No way. I've never heard of anything like that. But even so, if this fact had been revealed to one of the relatives, maybe they'd say I wouldn't put it past Grandfather to make it. Since I can't deny the existence of Golden Thread X that can be moved at will and attack people, I can either accept that this mysterious weapon exists, or else I'll have to accept that this was a murder committed with magic. To find the next corpse, I had to go through the back door and search around outside a bit. Behind the mansion, in the wild-grown bushes that were almost swallowed up by the forest, there was something like an old well. Whoa! And right next to it were Dr. Nanjo and Shannon's corpses.
New tips? Oh, wait, we have to wait till this background's gone.
Both corpses and their heads smashed. And though they weren't stuck in, there were stakes lying right next to each damaged head. Each corpse was atrocious, but having to look directly at Shannon's lovely face, which had been half blown away, was very painful. Alright, tips?
No, it's still there.
Oh,
we won't
right.
be able to read it.
Then, there was the well. I had heard that inside it was a secret underground passage to the mysterious mansion Kudawarian. By this time, I had begun to think that Beatrice and her accomplices might have used this underground passage and left for Kudawarian. Even though there had apparently been at least 10 of them, I hadn't seen a trace of anyone. It seemed very likely that they already escaped to a different location. There's the typhoon. They can't go out to sea. It goes the same for the forest. There's no way they could traverse such a deep, uncultivated forest on foot. In that case, they had only one place to go. The mysterious hidden mansion, Kudawarian. Through the secret underground passage at the bottom of the well. By this time, I had entirely lost my fear of being killed if I happened to come across the enemy. Don't fuck with me. This time I'll storm into your mansion. What the hell? Damn it! The old well had a firm cover on it. The cover was an iron grill. The gaps between the bars were perhaps 20 centimeters across. You could peer inside, but it really wasn't something a human could pass through. If I had known better, I wouldn't have thought of anything more than a simple cover to prevent falls. But from what Kiri had told me, I knew that its purpose was to prevent intruders from entering a secret underground passage in its depths. But the cover was extremely firm and rigid. No matter how much I pushed or pulled, I couldn't even get close to opening it. I couldn't find any obvious lock. It might be sealed by some mechanism, but no matter how much I investigated it, I couldn't find anything to release it. The biggest piece of information Kiri tried to give me, gambling her final moments, was the underground passage in this well.
Oh, we'll be able to read the tips now.
Are they cool?
I'll read Nanjo. Attending physician Nanjo. His corpse was found behind the mansion. About half of his head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that he was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. A demon stake had fallen near the body. And then... Oh, it's different. Her corpse was found behind the mansion. About half of her head was destroyed. It's probably reasonable to assume that she was murdered with a powerful gun or something similar. A demon stake had fallen near the body. The witnesses at least realized that the stake wasn't what killed her.
Damn, dude. I'm gonna blow my nose really quick.
Okay.
And my nose. Okay. Don't think I'll be stopped by something like this cover. I'll smash it to bits. I'll search for a tool. I had an idea. After all, I'd seen the various tools in the gardening shed where we locked Goda and Kumasawa in there. But the shutter to the gardening shed was locked. On top of that, the key was with Goda, who was dead on the inside. In other words, this gardening shed was a closed room. There was no way to open it from the outside. In that case, I've got to break the shutter. There has to be a tool for that somewhere. Kind of feels like I'm going in circles here. Then, while searching for that, I learned that the source of the stench that had permeated the mansion this whole time was the underground boiler room. The boiler room was dimly lit, humid, it smelled horrible, and on top of that, it was incredibly creepy. But there were several large tools there, and I managed to find a fire hatchet and some massive wire cutters. And grandfather's corpse.
Ooh.
Whoa!
Read Kinzo's for us.
I will. Oh shit. Kinzo. Yoshimi Kinzo. His body was found as a burnt corpse in the underground boiler room's incinerator. No evidence of a struggle was found inside the incinerator, so it's probably reasonable to assume that he was burned after his murder. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, to the dead to the dead.
So he only has
Damn.
3 more to find, and he knows where 2 of them are. It's just canon. He hasn't found that body yet.
Jeez, dude, he's finding all the dead bodies.
Yeah.
Gross. Alright. No. Strictly speaking, I should probably say that I found a burnt corpse of a person who was probably grandfather. Someone's corpse had been stuck into the blazing fire of the boiler. However, by coincidence, I was able to notice that the number of toes on the corpse. Both feet had 6 toes. That's right. I think I heard it from Dad some time long ago. Something about grandfather having polydactyly with extra toes. According to older Shirumi family tradition, it seems that those with extra fingers or toes had some kind of good fortune and were treated as a good omen. And because of that, grandfather was selected to be the successor or something. But I wonder if I could be certain of this grandfather's body just from the number of toes. After all, grandfather was supposed to be the leader of the group of the culprits. I didn't have a clue why'd he get stuffed into a boiler in a place like this and die. A mysterious corpse, burning and spitting out a terrible stench amid the flames. If it really was grandfather, did that mean that the leader of the group of culprits wasn't grandfather, but that Beatrice after all? Grandfather was used because he was convenient, and was then thrown away. Unfortunately, it didn't look like I'd be given a chance to hear grandfather's side of the story. Now that I had obtained the tool, I thought about rushing to take on the cover to the well. But I decided to break the shutter to the gardening shed first. I had plenty of time to kill anyway. I figured I should check on the condition of Goda's and Kumasawa's corpses. Whoa! Ow! I hit the shutter with the hatchet, breaking into it, stuck the wire cutter into the crack, and scissored it around, opening up a hole. Then, I faced Goda and Kumasawa's corpses once more. As a result, I learned a new fact. First, they had not died by being hung by the neck. Both of their feet were solidly on the floor, and on both of their foreheads was sign that they had been shot with a gun. The loop seemed longer than a normal noose. On top of that, the length was different. On each— what the fuck? I did something! No!
What did you do?
I think I pressed S or some shit, and so now I skipped a bunch of shit.
Oh, you probably pressed control. Well, you can...
Probably.
Just scroll back up, and then...
Okay, I get, then I faced Goda and Kumasawa's corpses.
Yeah, the loop seemed longer than the normal noose is the one.
Sorry?
The loop seemed longer than a normal noose.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
That's the part,
Yeah, I can't go back anymore?
What? But it's after that.
Oh, it's after
Is
that.
it not?
Oh. Both their feet— oh, yeah. Both their feet were solid on the floor, and on both their foreheads there were signs that they'd been shot with a gun. Flips— oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah. I don't remember conversations very well.
Okay.
On top of that, the length was different on each to match the height of each person. What? Shit. Alright. Each person.
What, did it skip again?
No.
Oh.
There you go. In other words, the lengths that had been adjusted so that both Goda, who is tall, and Kumasawa, who is short, had their feet solidly but barely on the ground. Also, while the ropes carried both of their weights and their heads lolled, both of them had some slack below their knees. This meant that if they stood up with those loops around their necks, there would have been some extra length. In other words, these loops wouldn't have been that great for hanging people. The direct cause of death was probably shot to the head. It was gruesome. The air insides were dripping out from those gaping holes, staining their faces a deep red. It's probably best to assume that they were hung, pulled up, and left exposed like that. There we go. If they'd been shot with a gun... Okay.
There's new tips.
New
Goda
tips.
and Kumasawa.
Damn,
Servant
dude.
Goda. His corpse was found in the Rose Garden storehouse. It's assumed that he was hung by the neck after being shot in the forehead. They put ropes around their own necks. That can be a pretty interesting experience now and then. Her corpse was found in the Rose Garden storehouse. It's assumed that she was hung by the neck after being shot in the forehead. As long as I could construct a closed-room murder, nothing else mattered.
If they had been shot with a gun, they would probably have been lying down on the floor. If that had been the case, you wouldn't have been able to tell that they were dead, even if you peeked through the window. The mountain of stuff would have gotten in the way, so if they had been lying down, they would have been hidden. To make the deaths of these two known to the rest of us who couldn't go inside, they would have had to hang them like this, making it visible from the outside. Was this done to get back at us for thinking that those two would surely be safe if we left the key with them? I wonder where the shutter key we gave Goda, which should have ensured their safety, is now. That key was in the pocket of his trousers. The garden shed key had been kindly left there, and even the plate was attached. In other words, the gardening shed had been a closed room after all. And that gave rise to another question, because this can't be explained by a hanging. If they didn't commit suicide, then those nooses were set up by the culprit. It might have been possible to shoot them through the window, but it's a really unthinkable thing that someone could have tied 2 loops to the beam from the outside. And furthermore, there's no way they could have lifted up the heavy corpses. In other words, to do all of this, they would have had to go inside. But the key was in Goda's pocket, and the shutter had been locked. In other words, the gardening shed had been a closed room. Goda has said that there was only one key to the shutter. But is it possible that there was a copy, and that the culprit was in possession of it? If we're allowed to theorize that there actually was a duplicate of the gardening storehouse key, and that Goda just didn't know about it, then this isn't even close to a closed room. But why is it that, despite the fact that almost all of the other corpses were shot to death and left almost completely alone, just these 2 corpses were intentionally hoisted up? I couldn't help but feel something a bit odd about that. After this, if we assume that the mystery corpse in the boiler room was grandfather's, the deaths of 16 people have been confirmed. There were 18 people on this island. I'm here, and there are 16 corpses. Cannon's corpse is the only one I haven't been able to confirm. According to Kiri, he had been killed while climbing out of the well, and had fallen down into it. So with the well closed up like this, it's impossible to check. I tried shining a flashlight through the bars, down into the darkness in the depths of the well. But it seemed that the jet black darkness had no intention of showing me its depths with the light of that level. It looked like I'd have to break the bars after all. Using the hatchets and things I dragged from the boiler room and the gardening shed, I tried breaking the cover of the well. Clang. But the metal bars were extraordinarily sturdy, and breaking them wasn't easy. I hit them with the hatchet over and over until my hands started feeling weird, and eventually gave up on breaking them. It's impossible. If they were at least wood, I might have been able to break them. But this metal... That's right, there's no way you can slice through metal bars like butter with human strength. I can't even begin to understand that story about how cannon cut through metal bars. I heard that a light like a red laser beam grew out of his arm, and that he sliced through the metal bars like he was cutting through butter. Cutting through metal bars like butter? And what's with the red laser beam? Does that mean he secretly had a burner on him or something? And used that to burn through the bars? Still, just what kind of laser could cut through metal bars like butter? It almost sounds like the kind of laser beam you find in those robot anime I loved as a kid, doesn't it? Does something like that actually exist? And how did Cannon get the laser beam? No matter how much I want to ask him, he's already been killed. Plus, even his corpse is now in the depths of the well, beyond this cover. If Cannon could slice through metal bars, I'm sure he could handle this metal cover in a single swing. It feels just like the closed room Godo was locked in while hiding the key. Only one person can open the door, but they're locked inside. If only I had the power of cannons, I'd be able to do something about this cover myself. Just who is Cannon? He couldn't really be a non-human being capable of using a strange power, right? Kyrie told me to believe in witches, and I even met an insane woman calling herself one. Could Cannon possibly be a human on the witch's side? Or else, the culprit? What the heck? Am I gonna start treating him like the culprit just because I can't find his corpse?
Oh, treating him like the culprit because there's no corpse? And who was the one babbling about the suspicious being innocent? Very well, I couldn't bear having you push all the crimes on Cannon and building a human culprit theory that way. I will guarantee it with the red. Cannon is dead. Among the 5 people in Kyrie's group, he was the first to die. In short, he was the 9th victim. Oh, and we can read the tip.
Tips.
Or I can read the tip. Oh, I was pressing the wrong one. Oh, I kept pressing the... Ah, there we go. Okay. Why was my mouse not... Okay, there we go. My mouse is working now. Cannon. Battler was not able to find his corpse. No matter how he's killed with magic, without a corpse, he's a definite suspect. Now that's definitely anti-fantasy. Therefore, I guarantee his death with the red truth. Now that's definitely anti-mystery.
Since there's no corpse, I can't say for sure that Cannon is dead.
So, my whispering in red does not reach the peace you, but it did reach you, right?
At a glance, this was a mass murder due to something strange that could only be thought of as magic. Golden threads that attacked through the keyholes? No, even we have a testimony that something gold flew around the dining hall when the first 6 died. Maybe the murderer is coronavirus. Who knows?
Yeah, that sounds like coronavirus to me.
Fucking mysterious deaths, all this weird stuff.
Gold beams flying all around.
Yeah,
shit.
beams.
Yeah.
That sounds like coronavirus, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 2 might have been the same weapon. Then, there was the closed room murder, the garden shed, and the laser beam that could cut through metal bars. And that wasn't all. There was much, much more. Like the group of goat monsters. The story of a witch who could create pitfalls just by snapping her fingers. The rabbit-like demons who had fired gold threads. I think there was more. But each part was all screwed up. I couldn't possibly accept it. I was forced to suspect that it was some kind of trick or mistake. But why in the world had everyone spoken with one voice, saying the same thing without contradictions in their testimony? It's not only the magic. There's Maria's mysterious death. Why Jessica knew that George had been killed. The mysterious burned corpse that I couldn't confirm really belonged to that damn geezer. And more, and more. All stuff I don't get. I tilted the wine bottle up and gulped. Glub, glub, glub. I don't have a clue what's going on. After dinner last night, the kids were chased out and told to go back to the guest house. And then, there was a massacre in the dining hall. Kiri and the rest were dropped through pitfalls and captured. Then Jessica and George were called out to take a test or whatever and killed. Even though Kiri's group was able to escape the dungeon somehow, all of them got killed in the end. At the very, very end, even Maria was killed, leaving me all alone. In short, I did nothing except stay locked up in the guest house. During that time, a huge incident occurred and ended. What can I call it except incomprehensible? I don't have a clue anymore. Now I'm nothing but a drunk. You plan on leaving only me alive? Show yourself right away and come to kill me already. It's too much of a pain, so I won't search for you. You show me your true form yourself. I won't run or hide, so come at me with arrows or bolts or whatever. I haven't gotten any sleep since yesterday, so I'm incredibly sleepy. You want to kill me? Go ahead. I decided to return to the guest house and boldly rest in a bed. When I exited the kitchen and passed through the lobby, that portrait of the witch came into view. The big clock did too. It was almost exactly 2400, or 12 o'clock. Then the sound of the bell rang out, proclaiming that 2400 had arrived. As I listened, I looked up at Beatrice's portrait. Exactly 24 hours ago, I met you. What were you trying to say? And where did you go? Just who in the world are you? Golden Witch Beatrice, I haven't solved a single one of the riddles surrounding you. Show yourself, and fight me. Please. Then, the witch showed herself. Like a guest of honor, finally appearing, she showed herself on the landing at the top of the staircase. Big staircase. So, you finally show yourself. I've been kept bored for a while, the whole day.
Correct. I gave you a whole day. Was that enough for you to fully exercise the rights of the human side?
Yeah, I was bored after all. I did a heck of a lot of it.
Anji was a good piece.
Don't you speak Anji's name.
She appeared through a miracle, sacrificed herself, and gave you the tenacity required for certain victory.
Don't you speak Anji's name.
That brutal death was something you needed. If you hadn't seen that death, you wouldn't have grown serious. Without the wake-up call of Anji's ill-fated future, your tenacity for victory would not have been born.
I told you not to speak Anji's name.
In short, she was a necessary sacrifice. Otherwise, an anger great enough to kill me would not have been born in you. The rivalry between us cannot be destroyed. Damn you, Lady Berncastel. It's more fitting to call that a trump card than a piece. No matter how much a piece acts, it does not stray from the board. But no matter how much power a trump card wields, it is always thrown away after it is used. Anji was truly a good trump card for you.
Don't you speak Anji's name!
At Battler's angry roar, Beato finally stopped talking.
You know, I don't have time to play around in a place like this anymore. Even a tie will keep Anji waiting. So I'll break through you. Take my family, and go back home. I won't waste a second playing witch games with you.
In that case, what should you do? You know, don't you?
Yeah, I'll beat you down. I'll blast away all witches' magic illusions and delusions. Come on, let's get started. I won't let you trick me again. Resume the game, okay? I'll tear that part of the witch's veil, concealing the outright lie you are.
You talk too much. All you have to do is honestly say, I'll kill you.
Yeah, if those are the words you want, I'll say them. This is the first and last wish of yours that I'll lend an ear to.
I thank you. Very well. Let us begin, Battler. Yes, the time for the witch hunt has come. Try and chase me, try and corner me, try and kill me. I expect a lot from you. Try and show me what your little sister gave you in her last moments.
Bring it on.
Battler's cry burned the world with a white light. And if you opened your eyes amidst the darkness, the two of them could be seen in a rose garden. Who shall make the first move?
Me.
How bold. In the rose garden, beautiful rose petals danced. The color of those rose petals was red. Did the fact that they faced each other in this beautiful rose garden prove or make claim to a red single truth? That must be why the roses are red. But in the language of flowers, roses represent passion, not truth. The flower for truth is a forget-me-not, and that flower is blue.
I'll bore through everything with my blue truth, from the very beginning of everything. I'll start from the very first game.
Very well, let's see what you've got. Come.
Here I go. I've already proclaimed it, but I'll say it again. This isn't just for the murder of Dr. Nanjo in the last game. This will tear apart every scene from every game since the beginning. Ushiyumiya Kinzo is already dead, so the true number of people on the island is 17. By adding in an unknown person X, that makes 18 people. But by supposing the existence of this person X, the crime is possible, even if all 17 people have alibis. By this, even though the number of people reaches 18, it's still possible for a culprit X to exist and carry out crimes even if all 18 people seem to have alibis. You can break through all the murders in episode 1 by supposing an unknown person X. Furthermore, it's even possible to explain the mystery of Kinzo's evaporation from the closed room sealed by the recipient, by making the bold assumption that Kinzo wasn't there in the first place. Unless Beato counters this with the red truth, the illusion of the witch from episode 1 has been completely smashed. This blue truth is valid.
The wedge of blue truth that Battler had thrown stabbed right through the top of Beato's left foot. Was the red blood pouring out from there, a protest being made by her red truth? Beato shut one of her eyes tight, enduring the unbearable pain of the blue truth that denied her. Not bad. But I mustn't be denied yet. I mustn't be killed yet. This is not yet enough. In the subsequent games, there were mysteries that couldn't be explained with that alone, right?
Which mysteries?
In the final stages of the second game, George took Goda and Shannon with him, barricaded them in Natsui's room, and was killed. The key that unlocked Natsui's room was locked up inside the room, and all of the remaining keys that could unlock the door were in Rose's hand. Even if a culprit X existed, it should have been impossible to construct that closed room. The blue wedge that pierced Beato shook. She was resisting, fighting to pull it out.
No, that doesn't shake my blue truth. If corporate X were to obtain a master key, that's not even close to a closed room.
No, it wasn't possible for the culprit to obtain one. All of the master keys were under Rosa's control.
But that's meaningless if Aunt Rosa was the culprit. Aunt Rosa handed a key over to the culprit X by some method assisting in the closed room murder. And after that, she retrieved the key by a similar method. Too naive, Beato. I'd already guessed that much at the time.
Ha 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 ha! Yes, you did, didn't you? Gah! The wedge that had been gradually losing its sparkle and it seemed as though it was about to be pulled out regained its strong blue again thanks to Battler's additional blue truth, and dug into Beato's again, eating into her foot. Beato let out a cry of anguish at the pain. Not yet! This is still nothing! Not yet! Not yet!
On to the third game. The 6-link closed rooms, the murder of Aunt Rosa Maria, Dad and the rest's death in the hall, the murders of Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsui. All that can be explained if we suppose that Aunt Ava was the culprit. This argument was already won back then, and even the final riddle you proposed through Ava, the murder of Dr. Nanjo, can be explained with an 18th unknown person, X. That breaks through the whole third game. Can you counter that?
Of course. This much is nothing to worry about. In that case, how do you explain George's disappearance from the guest house? I shall add to the red truth. George did not go down the stairs of the guest house. He flew out through the window. In the final stages of the third game, George suddenly vanished from the second floor of the guest house. Ava, who had been on the first floor, claimed that no one had come downstairs, but because of the blue truth, George could have snuck down to the first floor and escaped while Ava was busy carrying Krause's and Natsui's corpses outside. But by adding an additional red truth, Beato had denied that possibility. To go outside without going down the staircase to the first floor, he would have had to leave by the window, but all of the windows had been locked from the inside.
So what? It's just like you said. He flew out the window, right? There was lawns, so he wouldn't tell if he jumped down, and it was raining so hard. Any light traces would have disappeared.
I'll use the red truth again. All windows and doors leading to the outside were locked from the inside. Furthermore, it is impossible to lock any of those from the outside. George had no technique by which to unlock them.
I'll use more of the blue. I said to myself at the time. In that case, everything works out as long as someone locked the window after George escaped through it. Nothing difficult about that.
Gah! Can I not escape after something like this? Beato couldn't remove the blue wedge that was buried into her foot. The fake witch was burned more and more by that forceful blue.
There's still nothing that shakes my blue truth in any of the first 3 games. In that case, the only game that can prove you're a witch is this game, the 4th game.
Since I haven't countered you with the red, that is so. I shall have to prove witches using only this game. Very well. Give me everything you've got.
There's nothing strange about the murder of the 6 people in the dining hall. The 18th person, X, went wild with a gun and killed everyone. As for the pitfalls, there's a chance that pitfalls truly were hidden there, and it's possible to explain it using Kyrie's theory, supposing that poison dart shooting device X, which could knock a person out instantly, exists. The murders of George, Jessica, and those who escaped from the dungeon can also be explained with guns, just like the dining hall. There's nothing strange about it. But I'm sure you've got a counterattack, right? Bring it on.
Your greatest sword, this 18th person X, is based on the theory that Kinzo was already dead. I knew you would make that claim. That's why I took Kinzo out of his study. All members in the family conference welcomed that Kinzo, right? All of those who met at the family conference acknowledged the presence of Kinzo.
That's right. But grandfather was seriously ill, bedridden on the verge of life and death, right? If he was so worn out that he looked like a different person, maybe no one would have cared, right? I'll counter with this. That grandfather was a different person, a body double. A different person, and the relatives mistook for grandfather.
Then I'll counter with this. No person would mistake Ushiro Miya Kinzo by sight. No matter what disguise might be used, they would not mistake Ushiro Miya Kinzo by sight.
Then I'll use this. In the second game, when you announced with the red truth that there were 5 master keys, even though there could have been more than 5 in the first game, you changed the premises of the later games. So it's possible that Kinzo's life or death status was changed for the 4th game alone. Therefore, Kinzo's presence in the 4th game does serve as proof that he was present in the previous games. Therefore, even if we suppose that the 6 murders in the dining hall were carried out by grandfather, it contradicts nothing.
Then let me counter this way. Kinzo's life or death status is the same at the start of all 4 games. The setup was not different for the 4th game alone.
Repeat it. Kinzo was alive at the start time of every game.
I refuse to repeat it. I won't answer, Battler. I won't give you the red truth you so desire.
Damn, you're standing in my way, geezer. Are you putting yourself on the line to protect Beatrice, this most beloved witch of yours? This
is Battler, because it says that damn geezer. That's something Battler would say.
Swaying. That damn geezer came into view. Heh, is he trying to be some kind of night-blocking path between me and Beato? But Battler, are you capable of surpassing me? I won't let you reach. I will not let you reach. Not to the Golden Land Witch's height, you see? Fwahahaha. Your thoughtless reasoning cannot surpass even me alone. Die! Whoa! Kinzo's jet black cape spread as though it would swallow the world, becoming the sound of a vast black dragon that came at me, trying to swallow me in one gulp. Faced with that black dragon's roar, I calmed my breathing and closed my eyes tightly. I'll swallow you up in a single gulp. Disappear, inexperienced fool! Quiet, you damn undying ghost. Oh, so you call me a ghost? So you intend to see it through to the end? This theory that I am already dead, that would prove fatal to you. Be swallowed up by the first twilight of the fourth game and disappear.
The black dragon's vast mouth, its snout, its fangs, swallowed Battler whole. In that instant, Battler suddenly opened his eyes.
Thanks, Beatrice. Your third game became a foothold for my counterattack.
What?
See ya, damn geezer, this is goodbye. As a basis for claiming that Kinzo is dead, even in the fourth game, I propose the following theory. Very well, come at me with all you have, my descendant. Here I go, you damn geezer. My theory is that the name of Kinzo gets passed on as title of the Ushirimiya family head. Ushirimiya Kinzo was already dead, and he passed that name on to someone else. Everyone acknowledged that. That way, all of those who met at the family conference acknowledged the presence of Kinzo. There wasn't even a need for someone to disguise themselves as grandfather, because everyone acknowledged and knew Kinzo. So, they didn't actually mistake Kinzo by sight. As long as this theory is not denied, nothing can change the fact that you're dead. This is the final blow. Damn geezer, I demand that you repeat it. Among all of the people there, not one had multiple different names. I cannot. Rest in peace, damn geezer. Thank me. You were finally able to die. This is your requiem. Take it, drop dead. Ushirimiya Kinzo was already dead. That's right, you definitely deserve to be pitied, since whenever we find your corpse, it's always completely burnt. That was a device to hide the fact that time had passed since your death. Then you passed that name on to someone else. With this theory, even though you were dead, Kinzo was able to appear at the family conference. How's that? This is checkmate! Whoa.
Several dozen blue stakes bored into Kinzo's ghost. Their terrible destructive power wouldn't let the ghost recover again.
Beatrice.
Kinzo, thank you for everything. Rest in peace. I will not forget my time spent with you. Dispersing along with the shadow of the black dragon as golden flower petals scattered, Ushirimiya Kinzo became a gold-colored cyclone and disappeared. Even after death, he had fought for the sake of the woman he loved. There's no doubting that your love and madness were the real thing. Battler.
Don't hate me. Let the dead sleep. Don't wake them. You're up next. This is the end for you too.
Beato still couldn't pull out the blue wedge that pierced her foot. She realized that she was on the verge of death.
I've gone along with you as a whole bunch. I think I've more than fulfilled any responsibility I had to play with you. But it's about time to finish things up. I've got a lonely little sister waiting at home. Let me take my leave with my whole family.
Then kill me. In that case, try and kill me. I won't run or hide, and by now I won't even be able to avoid it. Come on, Ushiromiya Battler!
You've got it. With the 18th person X from the Kinzo is dead theory, everything that remained has been pierced through. George Aniki and Jessica's deaths in the 4th game can also be explained by Culprit X, and the 5 who escaped from the dungeon and were killed, and the 2 in the gardening shed, and Maria in the end. All of those can be explained with 18th person X. There's nothing strange there at all. With this, I've fully explained the culprit using humans for all games. Beatrice, this is checkmate.
What? Beatrice, who couldn't dodge, had several blue stakes driven into her and was skewered. Beato grabbed at them, trying to pull them out somehow. That got me. It hurts. This'll kill me, won't it? If I don't pull these out, I'll die. I've had enough of the pain. I've had enough of... Enough of what?
The anguish.
The anguish. With both hands, Beato firmly grasped one of the blue stakes. Naturally, the power of the witch-denying blue truth burned her hands. Unable even to hide her tears of the pain, Beato howled and tried to pull the stakes out with all her might. If I can't pull these out, I'll die. This is my final counterattack. Then Battler, how do you explain my several acts of magic? The very first time those appeared was in the 2nd game, when I fixed Maria's pumpkin marshmallow. At that time, Rosa definitely witnessed that magic. Certainly, at that time, Rosa witnessed gold butterflies gathering in the fixing of a marshmallow by the miracle of magic. Rosa alone witnessing it isn't very credible, right? That's why I increased the number of witnesses to the uppermost limit later on, which is what happened in this last game. The summoning of my minions, and brutal murders due to magic, all of those were witnessed by a great many people. That is itself proof that my magic exists. How do you explain that, Ushiromiya Battler?
Stalemate.
What?
Magic exists because magic exists. Didn't the rules of our Brawn Tube trials say that you couldn't use that kind of argument?
Yes, you're right.
No matter who, or how, many people witness magic, that cannot become proof of magic existence. Whether all the magic you've shown exists or not, I can ignore it all and explain things with humans. That's my undeniable right. Am I wrong?
At those words, the blue stakes let out an even brighter light, knocking my hands away. Seems I can't pull them out after all. As Battler is now, even if I pull up a witness for each individual bit of magic and demand an explanation, he'll probably use some kind of move to deny all of them. Not just the magic with the marshmallow I showed Rosa, but all the miracles of magic. So, I can no longer even claim to be a witch without questioning him about something like how a marshmallow was fixed. I'm in such an inferior position that I must fight over such trivialities. It may be impossible for me. I know that. This was to be a game without victory from the very beginning. So, it was only natural that the day of my defeat would eventually come. Have I fought, up until today, just to lose to Battler? I began the game, thinking I might be able to win. Even if I wouldn't be able to win easily, I believed that in a game repeating endlessly, a miracle would eventually occur. After all, I had certain willpower on my side, an unwavering desire to win with certainty. However, I've now lost that miracle completely, and that certain willpower resides in Battler, leaving me certainly without even a 1 in a million chance at a miracle. Or perhaps I should say I've been left without a miracle or certainty. I will have no victory, and no end through a tie. The only resolution allowed me is to continue on resisting. until defeat is given to me in this game. That's right, I am fighting only to be killed by Battler. I looked into Battler's eyes. That which was reflected inside them wasn't me. The figures of the little sister waiting for his return, and the family he had to bring back were reflected in those eyes. To him, my existence is already not even that of an individual. Obviously, from the very beginning, he has been trying to deny the individual that I am. Yes, that last game sure was fun. I was only tricking him a bit, but for just a short period of time it felt like we understood each other, and that was fun. That's right. I should have made my move then. I should have continued for eternity with Battler still totally fooled. But that's just no good, right? That just wouldn't be true victory.
Is this checkmate, Beatrice?
Beato had been run through with several blue stakes, skewered over and over to the ground while still standing. Because of that, she wasn't even able to fall over, and still looking up into the sky was sewn in place. That tragic form might have been a fitting end for the cruel witch who had endlessly toyed with 18 people's lives and who had killed constantly for hundreds and thousands of years. Gently, as though someone was mourning over something, rain began to fall. Amid that rain, Beato was soaked and crucified.
Is it over, Beato?
Can't even let out a squeak.
Not yet. You aren't a woman who will let things end with just this.
Don't be ridiculous. How can you look at this and think that it isn't over? Quickly, deliver the final blow. Just say it, with your blue truth. According to this, witches do not exist. Say it. Just say it. With that single blow, just put a stop to my breathing.
It's useless.
Huh? So you would expose me to even further shame? Isn't it settled already?
Stand up. Our brawl still isn't over.
Not over, you say.
That, just now, wasn't you losing. You just stopped and gave up.
Isn't that enough? Wouldn't giving up mean your victory? You should return to your little sister right away. Just throw me away, right here.
Didn't I tell you? I won't run away. And I won't let you run away. Let you run away. Just who are you? And what in the world is that you want?
If you want to know, why don't you just try your favorite move? Isn't it better this way? With me as a mere delusion, an illusion, isn't that enough?
It's all useless. I won't let you run away. I'll break through you. How could I let you run away like this?
I won't... Oh, shoot. Sorry.
I won't let you run back to the darkness of illusions while you're still all hazy like this. I'll break through you. Completely. So stand up. Don't act like all frail like that. You're still hiding several moves. I can tell.
Why won't you just let me escape?
Dad, Mom, and Anji. All the cousins and all the relatives. And all the servants. You toyed with them so much and killed them. I definitely won't forget you. I definitely won't forget. Won't forgive that inhumanity. I can still feel Anji's arm on my shoulders. I won't forgive your inhumanity, so I won't let you get away like this.
Battler's eyes burned with the flames of hatred. The time had long since passed during which pitiful behavior would have earned his compassion. After being tricked once, Battler will never sympathize with me again. Instead of the wolves and sheep puzzle, this is like the boy who cried wolf, isn't it? What am I supposed to do? What should I do? Is fighting endlessly only to avoid admitting defeat a fitting endless torture for the Endless Witch? Is endlessly harassing Battler to avoid giving him victory also part of being the Endless Witch? It's so sad. Is this what the endless magic is? I've had enough. I've had enough of endlessly being toyed with by witches. I will have no victory and no tie. In that case, there's only one result that can release me. Since the time I succumbed to the path of witches, since the day I made that contract with demons, it was promised that I would meet my end through tragedy, was it not?
What's wrong, Golden Witch Beatrice? If you are the ruler of Rock and G, must show me a majesty fitting for that, even at the very end.
Lightning. The world was smashed with white, fitting last moments for the ruler of Rockinjima. Still pierced by the blue stakes, Beato faced the rainy sky and let out a cry of laughter. Then she slowly raised her face and stared at Battler. Fool! Just when I was about to praise your good fight and hand over victory, you shall regret that pride.
This isn't something for you to hand over. I'm gonna take it from you. The same goes for you, right? You could never accept an easygoing victory where I just say maybe witches existing isn't so bad. Isn't that the very reason you intentionally fell apart like that at the end last time? That's right, last game you took pity on me, just once, didn't you? So now I'll pay back that debt. Stand, my enemy, my golden witch, Beatrice.
Ha 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 ha! Fool! You fool! Ha 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 ha! You simpleton! You think you'll get another chance? When Beato yelled, the blue stakes that had pierced her chest blew to bits and disappeared. However, the blue wedge that had pierced her foot in the very beginning did not vanish.
You can't pull it out yet. You can't pull out that blue truth at the 18-person X.
I will respond to one thing you told me to repeat. As you reasoned, Kinzo is already dead at the starting time for all games.
Whoa!
However, this means that you can take one person out. Before now, I have proclaimed that no more than 18 humans exist on this island. I will lower that by 1 for Kinzo. No more than 17 humans exist on this island. That excludes any 18th person. In short, this 18th person X does not exist. This applies to all games.
Whoa. Shit, dude. What do you know? Looks like you're still hiding some pretty crazy stuff up your sleeve after all. The island, which had no more than 17 humans on it, has been set up to appear as though there were 18. Taking one off makes it 17, so we finally reached the correct number. This way, the wedge I knock into has been removed. We'll have to start the fight over, back from square one.
The blue wedge that had sewn Beato in place broke apart. There was no longer anything piercing her. The scars on her body had disappeared completely. There stood, just as Battler had hoped for, the figure of the majestic golden witch who ruled Rockinjima. Then come, Battler, once more from the beginning. Try and break through everything with the blue truth. I too will no longer play, run, or hide. If you are worthless, then I shall end this match right here, right now. With my grand victory, I'll make you regret your refusal to compromise for all eternity. Come, starting from the first game.
Right. From the first twilight of the first game, there was nothing strange about the murder of the 6 relatives that were found in the gardening shed at the start. The crime was possible for any of those who didn't have an alibi.
Valid. Continue. What about the next closed room murder with Ava and Hideyoshi? Even the chain was set for that closed room. I shall add to the red truth. Both deaths were homicides. It is not the case that, after the construction of the closed room, one of them committed suicide after committing murder. Furthermore, the murder was carried out with both the victim and the perpetrator in the same room. No method exists for the perpetrator to commit murder from outside the room.
Suppose that the culprit was a human without an alibi. In other words, the dead. We weren't able to identify some of the first 6 corpses because of their smashed faces. Maybe one was actually a disguised corpse, and culprit X killed those 2 after making us think they were a victim and hiding away. Then, after the closed room murder was constructed, the culprit hid under the bed and waited for all of us to come and leave.
Very well. Next, Cannon was killed in the boiler room, correct? I shall add to the red truth. All of the survivors have alibis. Let us include the dead as well. In short, no kind of human or dead person on the island could have killed Cannon.
If no one could kill him, then he might have been the one to kill. Then he might have been the one to kill. Cannon might have killed himself. Repeat it. Cannon did not commit suicide.
Cannon did not commit suicide.
One more. Repeat it. Cannon's death was a homicide.
I refuse to repeat it.
By that refusal, it may be possible to view it as a homicide, but you've already proclaimed and read that no one could have killed him. In other words, it wasn't a homicide. This is the same as the linked closed rooms from the third game. Cannon died for a reason that was neither suicide nor homicide. The details are unknown, but he died due to an accident. Because of the devil's proof, I refuse to explain what kind of blunder could have led to an accidental death where a stake was driven into his chest.
Ho ho ho! Now that you have borrowed the power of demons, you are without peer. It is valid. In that case, what about the murders after that in the parlor of Genji, Nanjo, and Kumasawa? Naturally, Maria, who was in the same room, did not kill them, and of course their 3 deaths were homicides.
We can explain those murders with culprit X, who hid away using an unidentified corpse. After all, those 3 had their faces smashed. It's completely possible that one of them was a body double corpse.
I guarantee the identities of all unidentified corpses. Therefore, there were no body double tricks.
Then you can explain it with simultaneous murders. Each of them had a gun pointed at clockwise and blew each other's faces off at the same time. After that, Maria collected those guns and hid them. How about that?
What? What a ridiculous argument! How amusing. Then what about Natsui in the end? I shall add to the red truth. Natsui's death was a homicide. There were no unidentified corpses, and all of the survivors have alibis.
You can explain it with an indirect murder due to a trap X. Something was done to Natsui's gun. It could have been a trap gun, built to send a bullet right into the forehead of anyone who tried to hold it up and shoot it.
The bullet buried into Natsui's forehead was not fired from her gun.
It's possible that Aunt Natsui was lured out by the letter, whose contents were unknown. She was called out into the hall. Then, she was forced to stand at a specified location at a specified time and murdered by Trap X, which used a gun that had been installed there beforehand.
Wonderful! These reckless arguments of yours are even starting to feel pleasurable now. Out of respect, I shall hand the first game over to you. Well done. Gah! The instant Beato acknowledged her defeat in the first game, the stakes of the blue truth once again pierced her chest, letting out a terrible sound. Gah! 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 This is still hardly painful, and it's not over yet. Come now for the second game. Beato just barely pulled out the stakes that had pierced her chest, but even though there was no hole left behind, she still seemed to be bearing a deep wound that was letting out a massive amount of blood, and she was tormented by an equally fierce pain. But Beato grinned, grinding her teeth, and pushed for the next game to start.
But I don't feel sympathy for her. Just by her existing there, we've been killed and harassed over and over. and Audrey's been burdened with a future of isolation.
Correct. Just by me being here and laughing, this eternal hell will continue. I won't give your little sister back. Let her cry over the family that shall not return for the next 1,000 years.
Damn it! No compassion, no mercy. On to the second game. I'll start with the first crime. Right after it happened, I penetrated to the truth of the closed room murder where the 6 were killed in the chapel. Someone secretly borrowed Maria's key and secretly returned it to Maria's bag after the crime was over.
From the time Maria received her key to the instant Rosa unsealed the envelope the next day, the key passed through no one's hands.
That door might have had an auto lock, just like Gramps' study. In other words, it was unlocked before the crime, with a rock or something wedged in so that it couldn't be closed completely. Then someone gave the key to Maria. The lock was automatic, so it's possible to make a theory where the key wasn't needed.
There were no doors with auto locks other than Kinzo's study.
The victims locked the door from the inside. One of the 6 was the culprit, and this person killed the other 5, and then pretended to be dead.
The 6 were already dead by the time they were discovered. All of their deaths were homicides. All 6 were genuine victims and did not take part in a mutual murder. There was no simultaneous murder.
There were people, Kumasawa in particular, who had no alibi at the time. If we assume that someone was hiding on the inside, then we've got no problems.
There was no one hiding in the chapel. Therefore, the shut-in murder you suggest does not work. What's wrong? Is that all, Ushiromiya Battler? It's not so easy once you get to the second game, right? It was a thundering exchange of red and blue truth. The stakes and wedges of blue truth. Oh, it's Battler.
It was a thunder exchange of red and blue truth. The stakes and wedges of blue truth that I sent flying attacked one after the another, and Bito cut them down one after another with her red truth, her red treasured sword, knocking them down. But the blood she lost from the first game was probably serious. This intense exercise was putting an even greater strain on her. I could also see her breath go ragged. That's why I can't hold back now. I'll corner that witch. This time, I'll break through her. Not yet. It's useless. It's so useless. My twisted logic isn't finished yet. Then, what about this? The food they were given had those small bombs in it, which exploded from inside their stomachs. In other words, the crime was possible through Trap X. The exact nature of bombs they could swallow without noticing and which could also blow open their stomachs is a devil's proof. I refuse to explain.
What the hell's that? Small bombs? But Bito failed to knock down the blue wedge as it flew at an angle like a breaking pitch. It let out a loud thunk and gouged itself deep into her left shoulder. However, even as the breaking pitch hit her, her laughter didn't seem to be stopping.
Yeah, I get it. Even I think that theory is pretty screwed up. Ha, laugh as much as you want. Got a problem with that?
None. Quite a pleasurable, reckless argument. Next up is the closed room with Jessica and Cannon.
No problems there. If the culprit was one of the servants, they could have used a master key. It's not even a closed room.
After that, there was an attack in the servant room from a mystery person who seemed to be Cannon, and Nanjo and Kumasawa were killed, right? I had already proclaimed Cannon's death in red before that time. So, who was that Cannon?
If Cannon's death was proclaimed with the red truth, there's no way he was alive. Therefore, there's a chance that the one who attacked that group was in a disguise that made everyone mistakenly think it was Cannon.
They would never mistakenly think any other person was Cannon.
Then, just like the heredity of Kinzo's name, there's a possibility that Cannon's name was inherited by someone. You could suppose that Cannon was killed, a different person succeeded that name, and that this person attacked them.
A sound like a watermelon being squashed rang out, and a blue wedge was buried deep into Beato's left flank. Maybe it hit in a bad place since it seemed to be really effective. After leaning over and moaning for a while, she laughed it off as though trying to make it seem like no big deal.
Yeah. Oh wait, this is you.
This is you.
Oh, yeah, I get it. That must have hurt a lot.
Yeah! Once again, you've set up some humans as the culprit as if it were nothing. You truly are gabbing on about things you'd never be able to open your mouth and say on the game board. And yet it's valid. That reckless argument is pleasurable. Truly pleasurable. This isn't pain, it's pleasure. When Beato howled, the wedge that had pierced her was blasted away, but the wound remained and she continued to be tormented by a fierce pain.
You ready? I'll keep going. My blue truth for the last murder in the second game, the 3 who died in Natsu's room, should still be valid, even with the 18th person X denied. Do you have a counter-argument for that in red? If you don't, the second game is all mine too.
No, I don't. Fighting over such trivial matters bores me. I'll give it to you. I'll give you the second game. Gwag! School! The instant she acknowledged her loss in the second game, 2 blue stakes gouged through Beato's chest this time. The witch's lungs were gouged, as were her intestines. Her face twisted in anguish. Her body twisted as she gasped in pain.
Does it hurt?
Hurt? No, this just tickles. At least compared to having your entire body torn to bits and turned into a pile of scrap meat like your sister. I'll make you scrap meat too. Then you siblings can be all mixed together like ground beef and pork.
I'll beat you to death. I'll tear you to bits the same way. Next, the third game. How long are you gonna sit around all worn out like that? If I've only just started knocking you down to hell.
Arg. Naturally, as if something like this could wear me down. You're right. We're still just getting started. Come, let us begin the third game, starting with the 6 linked closed rooms. You supposedly did penetrate this closed room at the time, but then you killed off Kinzo. At the
time, I theorized that Gramps was the culprit, and that after killing the other 5 and stringing the keys across each room, he had constructed his own closed room in the boiler room, and that there he died in an accident while carrying out some kind of scheme, burning to death in the boiler. But now I've declared that Gramps was already dead, so I've denied my own theory myself, ironically enough. However, there's no problem. Plenty of people beside Gramps could have committed the crime. You could even claim that all of the adults holding in the family conference were in on it.
All 5 master keys were discovered, each in the pocket of one of the servants. The individual room keys were found inside envelopes alongside the corpses. In short, all keys related to the linked closed rooms were locked inside the linked closed rooms. No key could have been returned from outside the room using the crack of the door, the key of the window, vents, or any place of the sort.
Then they were killed with poison gas. Even if a key couldn't pass through, gas could, right? The murder was carried out from outside the closed room.
All of them had what appeared to be gunshot wounds that were fatal. Murdering them from outside the room would have been impossible. I shall say more with the red. When the 5 other than Kinzo were killed, the killer was definitely in the same room as them. I already proclaimed in red at the time that there were no suicides.
After the murder of each person in their respective rooms, the culprit created a linked closed room. But the culprit had no way to return just the key to the very last room. And yet, they were able to do it. After all, the first person to discover a corpse just had to pretend to find the key and pull it from the pocket of one of the corpses. Damn, dude.
She couldn't fully block the retort of that blue stake. Beato was pushed back by the blue wedges that were unleashed on her one after another, finally failed to block one, and once again took a severe wound. Yeah. As she howled in pain, she pulled out the blue wedge that had pierced her right arm. Beato's entire body had been torn apart and pierced with blue wedges, stakes, and blades over and over again, and now she was totally covered in blood. But even so, Beato grinned, cackling as though this was amusing. How could a man who promised to bring Anji's parents home voice a theory where those parents are culprits? Splendid. Even that's just fine, right? Go be a big happy family getting their hands dirty with mass murder, then return to Anji stained with blood that will never come off. How could we expect anything less from the people who returned alive from the Witch's Island? Just what that mincemeat Anji needs.
Shut up. I'll kill you. I'll tear you apart. No need to waste your time begging for your life. I'll definitely give you the worst kind of death by my own hands.
Yes, you probably could do it. I've explored the depths of cruelty for over 1,000 years, and you probably will gift me with a fitting end for all that. Oh, does that hurt? Is it harsh? Or does it tickle? Is that supposed to torment me? Come on, Ushiromiya Battler. There are still mysteries left. Beato
already countered my first powerful move, the 18th person X, by making the number of people on the island 17. But just limiting the number of people to 17 didn't overturn the theory that Aunt Ava was the culprit. I can crush most of the murders in the third game this way.
Blood dripped from all over the body of the Golden Witch.
I cornered her, this time thoroughly without mercy. This isn't a game played to decide who wins and who loses. Yeah, we aren't playing. Even the time I spend playing and fighting like this delays my trip home. In her isolation, Anji will continue to have her heart torn apart by loneliness and sadness. I have to go back to Anji as fast as I can. You're all worn out, standing at death's door, are you?
It still doesn't burden me, something like this. It tickles.
It looks like you don't need any mercy.
I never asked for it in the first place.
I'm going all out. Master, just this time.
Do so. When our roles were reversed, I showed no mercy, so you ought to do the same when given the chance. Otherwise, I'll summon another isolated Anji from a different world, and this time I'll tear off her arms and legs, stick her with a spear, and roast her, okay? Yeah.
Shut up. Never again. Not my family. Not my relatives. Not anyone of the servants. I won't let you make them your playthings. I've already broken through all of the mysteries in the fourth game with the Blue Truth. The only one left is the very last one from the third game. Only the murder of Dr. Nanjo.
Oh-ho, have I already been cornered so far? What a precarious state I'm in. Cough. I think this will be Battler.
She got violently, spitting up blood. Her insides have been punched through so many times. It was only natural. Only natural. In other words, the mystery of Dr. Nanjo's murder is the last line of defense for you being a witch, right?
As you say, if you defeat that, it will mean that all of my mysteries have been defeated. Unless I counter one of your truths with some new red truths or present a new mystery, I will die.
You don't look like someone who's been pushed into a corner, standing on the brink. You still have some kind of hidden pitch up your sleeve, right?
Well, who knows? I've already tired of a too long life after 1,000 years. I started to think that having this life ended by a rival like you, whom I stumbled upon at the very end, might not be so bad. You can do it, can't you? Do it. I beg you. Kill me! I'm always the one killing, and I've never had the experience of being killed. I've killed the 18 of you hundreds of times, but I haven't been killed myself even once. So I wanted to experience it just once myself.
It was a graceless show of boldness, unchanged from before. Blood dripped from her mouth. Her once beautiful dress was covered with holes, and blood poured from all over her body, making her physical appearance stand in sharp contrast to her attitude. Maybe the shot she'd taken to the flank was still tormenting her, since she was still pressing down on them unconsciously without a trace of grace. But I've got no time for pity. As long as I feel sympathy for this witch, my family and I won't be released from this place. Until I defeat her, we won't be able to go home. In the outside world, it may be possible for even enemies to understand each other when circumstances change. But pure evil does exist. Evil that brings misfortune just by existing, and is to be spared no compromise. Just by its continued existence alone, it's evil. I don't pity you, just like how you didn't show pity for any of us.
Well, of course. All of you are just pieces in the game. It's just unbelievably fun to think about which 6 to kill in the beginning, how to kill the next 2, and whether I can find a much more grotesque method of murder, you see. Hey, Battler, I've reformed a little, so forgive me this time too. If you do, I'll change my methods of killing into something a little better, okay? I'll listen to how you want them to be killed and in what order, got it? It's so fun toying with people's lives. I'm sure you could think of a way to turn Anji into a pile of scrap meat much more thoroughly. Come on, Battler, try to expose the truth of Nanjo's murder.
The 18th person X has been defeated. But I won't give in. I'll stop that witch's breathing cold. The end of the third game. It was announced in red that the survivors at that point in time, Battler, Ava, Jessica, and Nanjo, were all uninvolved with Nanjo's murder. And it was also proclaimed that he was murdered directly by someone before his eyes. All other people had the strongest possible alibi by having their deaths proclaimed in red. I'll break through this without using the 18th person X. Think. Don't stop thinking. Her red doesn't only bind me, but is also supposed to be her weak point. I've got to somehow use it against her. That's right. There's still a gap. Yeah. This way, I can break through it. This way, Beatrice's legend of the witch is finished. True. The others probably were dead. However, their deaths were not proclaimed in red at the instant Dr. Nanjo died. Strictly speaking, it was in the fight between me and Ava after Dr. Nanjo's corpse was found. In other words, if someone was alive at the time Dr. Nanjo was killed, and then died before Ava made that proclamation, you can sew right through that crack. In other words, it's like this. Someone who was first confirmed dead by Ava's proclamation was a culprit. They cleverly played dead earlier and waited for us to come and go. Before their death was announced in red, we were made to think that they died. Then, they killed Dr. Nanjo, and later died for some reason. After that, Ava proclaimed their death in red. That theory can explain Dr. Nanjo's case. How's that, Beatrice?
When he forcefully asked that question, there was a terrible sound that could only be likened to that of a compressor, and a blue stake that was as thick as a log appeared from under the earth and skewered the golden witch, Beato, pulling her up into the air. Ugly tearing sounds rang out, and each time a blue stake or wedge would appear and pierce Beatrice's body. When that finally ended, her tragic form was exposed there, pin-cushioned by more than 10 stakes and wedges all over her body and dripping with blood, dangling and crucified. There was none of the dignity of the brutal witch who had sneered at the honor of the dead and toyed with and killed hundreds of the living. The rain, which had started falling at some point, quietly tormented the crucified witch. As Battler heaved with his breathing, he waited for some kind of answer from the golden witch. Although it wasn't long, it took the witch a bit of time to show any signs of life. It hurts. It hurts.
You got what you deserve. Now you can experience a portion of the pain felt by those you've killed.
Even as he said that, it seemed Battler had lost a little of his momentum at this extremely pathetic sight. Even if it was an enemy, he couldn't look straight at a woman exposed in such a brutal fashion. But even so, unless he destroyed Beatrice, this battle wouldn't end. Battler, I beg you. Huh? Beato let out a sob. It hurts. It really hurts. End it. End it. Even with this, I still can't die. Even though it hurts so much, I still can't die.
What are you asking of me?
End it. Release me from this pain. Beato's expression was soaked with blood and tears. Battler certainly had been tricked by her at one point, so he was probably able to suspect that her expression, that even her tears were an act. However, Battler believed in those tears. After all, those tears had the red of truth mixed in with them.
What should I do? What can I do to end your pain?
I will now expose everything. This is my heart.
Your heart?
Oh, me.
Beato.
Ill me. Just let me die. Gah. Were those tears from pain and torment, or else? Either way, that pathetic expression was painful for Battler to look at, even after burning with such anger. Quickly, go back to Anji.
I'll listen to your request. Not so that I can go back, but to end your pain.
Then, Battler. In her last breaths, Beato summoned up all of her remaining strength and managed to close both of her hands into fists. A red light began to gather at those fists. Then she lifted her arms as though appealing to the heavens for something. You'll be able to kill me. All of me. My heart. Crush it. Pierce it, okay? The red light around both her arms gradually began to strengthen. Please. After saying that much, her face tilted to the side a bit. Then her right arm lost its light and flopped down. But her left arm alone did not lose its light, and remained held out towards the heavens. Then, before Battler's eyes, another Beato appeared with a faint form, transparent like a curtain. The crucified Beato had already lost consciousness, her eyes expressionless, and spoke. Ushiromiya Battler, I will now kill you.
And
right now, there is no one other than you on this island. The only one alive on this island is you. Nothing outside the island can interfere.
I understand. This is the last mystery Beatrice will be able to make as a witch. She is trying to offer it to me, entreating me to solve this final mystery and kill her. Do it. I'll accept your final mystery.
You are all alone on this island, and of course I am not you, yet I am here now and am about to kill you.
Like a souped up version of Dr. Nanjo's murder. So?
Who am I?
What? Is that your final question?
Who am I?
Then, Beatrice slowly approached me, and, still expressionless, held me. Yeah, I get it, Beato. I'll kill you, don't worry. I also slowly held her head. Then I, as a piece, left the game board. What? Goddamn, the final mystery.
He's all alone on the island.
He's all on the island.
But he gets killed.
You know what? I used the Dr. Nanjo. The thing I used with Dr. Nanjo is that he hallucinated.
Yeah.
What if the same thing happened with Battler?
Maybe.
Maybe. That's a maybe. That's not a no.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna say no.
Mm-hmm.
The witch hasn't said no to that.
I guess not. So until then, that's what I'm gonna be using.
Oh yeah, all these people are dead. Here's Ava
Beatrice. Whoa, Virgilia. Ronave.
Lucifer. Leviathan.
Damn.
Satan.
No god where?
Belphegor. Mammon. Beelzebub. Asmodeus. Chester 410. Chester 45. All of
the goats.
Okanogi Tetsuro. Sumadera Kasumi. Professor Utsuki. Nanjo Masayuki.
Yep.
Kumasawa Sabagichi. Captain Kawabata. The pirate.
Captain Kawabaka.
And the Delta. Berncastel. Fourth game. Alliance of the Golden Witch.
God damn. Well, that was very nice. Weird ending, too. The embracement at the end.
Oh, achievement unlocked. The end.
Ayy.
Okay, so we're going to stop here.
Yep.
And then we're going to record the secret tea party.
Ooh, secret tea party. Secret time.
And then we'll be done reading for the questions.
Hell yeah.
And then I'm going to have to go to work so we can record the podcast after 5 o'clock.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
see you guys for the next tea party.
Yep. See y'all later.
Goodbye.